From the Smith Center in Chapel Hill, this is TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ just saw Carolina lose 87-67 to ninth-ranked Duke, right on this court right here behind us. Another game with a lot to talk about, AJ. I think that kind of...
A lot or not much.
Yeah, that's a good point. Depending on which way you look at it.
You could go back and listen to the three things after Tennessee, Kentucky, Miami, Wake Forest. Kind of repeating ourselves here.
Very similar.
We've got to do it anyway, so stop into it.
The difference with that is this one was at home this time against a rival. You expect Carolina to show up and play a little bit better than they did. But, AJ, the first thing I want to talk about is the way Carolina started the first half, and on the flip side, the way they started the second half as well. 31-8 Duke to start the first half. And I was kind of talking to you during the game, and in hindsight, that was the game. And the game was over at that point. And there were some spurs. I know Carolina cut it to 10 towards the end of the second half. You're like, okay, maybe they can cut this to single digits. But in hindsight, it was over because Duke came out on a 12-0 run in the second half. And the game was really, really over then. Carolina never really able to claw back in it. I forgot what the word you used. Academic, I think, is the word you used after that point. And because it really didn't feel like a game.
When I asked Brady that question.
Yeah, it really didn't feel like a game after that. So that alone, those two moments right there, those two stretches from Duke and the way they started the first half and the second half, kind of the deciding factors in how this one played out.
Yeah, I posted on our message board at about the 10-minute mark. I think it was when Duke was up 19. Maybe it was the 11-minute. I mean, it's pretty quickly they had that big lead. And I said, in order for Carolina to win this game, they have to outscore Duke by 20 points in the last 30 minutes of this game. I said, it's not so much an issue of them scoring enough, but can they stop Duke enough to allow themselves to outscore them by 20?
Yeah.
Well, we saw what the 12-0 run to start the second half. No, the answer to that question is no. This is a bad defensive team, and when it's really bad, stuff like tonight happens. Stuff like Coral Gables and Winston-Salem and Las Vegas and Connecticut happen when they're really bad defensively. Hubert said that, Duke's guards are just great. They're really, really good, and that was the issue. He said after Wake Forest that Miami and Wake are more talented. I don't believe that.
No,
I don't believe Miami and Wake are more talented. Yeah, Duke's guards are fantastic. Duke is a more talented team. They're more talented than Ohio State. Ohio State beat them. They're more talented than Miami. Miami beat them at Cameron. They're more talented than a banged-up Florida State team. Florida State beat them here a couple weeks ago. I don't believe that's an excuse.
No.
I think that Carolina just defensively they were horrific early. Duke was getting whatever it wanted. Come now, we've talked about this before.
Yeah, it's not the first.
Another team running dummy offense. Dummy offense is come in the day before and watch a team just go through its stuff and the shots that they take without a defense. It's like in football, you run your plays. You see them before the game, you run your plays, there's really no defense, right? That's dummy offense. And they were running dummy offense every shot they wanted. And at one point, when the 31, they're going to start doing stuff. We got complaints about it before. It's not our deal. When Duke was up 31-8, Duke was 13 for 17 from the floor. Carolina was 3 for 16. Because on the other end of the floor, the Tar Heels were. I don't think some of the shots were open, but you pointed out, and I think you were right, that Carolina was kind of so amped up that they were hard shots. They were coming out hard off the rim. They weren't getting the putbacks. And some of the stuff Caleb Love put up.
Shooting range back there.
It is a shooting range back there. And some of the stuff that Caleb put up was just wasn't very attractive.
No.
Wasn't an attractive performance on his part. He's had 7 straight games in which he has not shot well. In fact, in the last 7 games, he's shooting 26.5% overall from the floor.
Wow,
but incredibly, he's shooting 22.6% inside the three-point arc in the last 7 games. So he ended up 3 for 10 today. He hit a few shots in the second half, but the game was over at that point. And then if there was any chance, they cut it to 11 at the half, and you're thinking, well,
maybe something might happen, yeah.
Can Duke really be bad in the stretch and Carolina be really good in the same stretch and then kind of make this a game? Boom, 12-0 to start the second half.
Iced it, yeah.
A.J. Griffin had 10 straight points. He had, again, got whatever he wanted. I mean, they got wide open shots. The energy did not appear there. In fact, we're going to talk about punching here in a second, but Hubert said he expected his team to punch at the start of the second half, and they didn't. And the game was over. They pushed it to, 51-28, just like that. And it was over. And I credit the fans for not leaving at that
Yeah, I
point.
tweeted that a few times. Yeah.
They actually stuck around about the 6-minute mark, and then you thought it was a damn fire drill. People just started.
And you can't really blame them, can you?
Competition. Who can get to their car first wins
Beat
$1
the
million.
traffic.
And that's
Beat the
kind of what
traffic.
happened. So this was a really bad performance by a basketball team that needed to play well.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, and we'll hit on this in a few minutes, they have not played well against any quote-unquote good teams this year.
Yeah, no, they haven't. And AJ, I want to
Good teams meaning NCAA teams.
Yeah, NCAA double teams, yeah. And most of their struggles were on the road or neutral site venues. Like I said, it's the first one at home. But really, I mean, you kind of think about it, it's the first time Carolina's played an elite opponent in the Smith Center this season.
The only team in their first 12 home games they played that realistically has a shot to make the NCAA tournament, unless Michigan goes on a run and nobody sees that happening, is if Furman wins the SoCon tournament. Furman was actually 66 in the NET because they're winning games in the SoCon, which shows you the value of winning games.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're the only NCAA team. Otherwise, they haven't beaten anybody.
No. Yeah, we'll hit on that a little bit later, too. I want to talk about, you hit on...
I was getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, it's all good. You talked about punched in the mouth, and that was a Leaky Black quote today. During his post-game press conference, talked about how he thought Carolina got punched in the mouth early and never really recovered from it. We've had conversations like this throughout the year, like you've said. This is not the first time. This is the first time on this court we've had it, but this is not the first time we've had these kind of conversations where Carolina starts out bad on both ends of the court, opponent jumps out to a big lead, game's kind of over. In hindsight, like I said, this game was never really a game when you look back on it.
It's not.
AJ, like, what do you make of that? Because I know Hubert kind of disagreed with it, but kind of agreed with it at the same time.
Pretty strongly disagreed with the premise of it, but kind of came around.
Yeah, and kind of came back and was like,
I asked him about his
his
comments.
So what do you make about that? Because this is, I tweeted this, and I've tweeted this before, this is who this team is at this point. It's February 5th. I mean, it's not going to change. I don't know how it can change when this is what you've done for the amount of games that Carolina has done this. So what do you make of that comment? Because I did agree with Leaky.
There's one player on this roster that knows what it's like to be in the locker room of a 1 seed, and that's Leaky Black, his freshman year. There's one player in that locker room that understands what dealing with difficulties and getting through them, however you get through them, often just plowing right through, what it looks like on the day-to-day grind basis of a program throughout the course of a season. That's Leaky Black. Now Brady played on some pretty good Oklahoma teams. He played a team that won the Big 12 regular season title. So he's got an idea too, and he was unfazed by this. And we talked, and I'm sidebarring here for a second. We talked before the season when Carolina picked up Brady. He had some really good games against Kansas.
Absolutely.
The game they beat Kansas that ended Kansas's Big 12 run, Brady was huge, and he was huge early in that game. He was that way tonight, but the other guys didn't join him. So, yeah, I think Leaky's right. When a player tells you that they got punched in the mouth and they didn't punch back, and then tells you they didn't compete, and when he's asked questions about this problem has occurred before, this is a recurring issue, Brett Friedlander asked that, and Brett said, how do you fix it? And Leaky paused and said, no. He said, good question.
Yeah.
Paused and then said, I don't know. He doesn't know because this is not the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time this has happened. It's a recurring thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's when you play good teams. You commented during the game, probably during 31-8 start, they don't look like they have confidence. Almost like they expect this to happen now.
Yeah, it's like a mental block.
It's a mental block.
That turns into a physical block on the court.
Well, when everything starts up here. Driving to school, driving to work starts up here.
Absolutely.
If your mind's not right, you glide into the intersection and smack.
Yeah.
So I don't think the minds were right. I think Leaky's right. They got punched in the face. They did not know how to punch back because against good teams they haven't punched back. They punched back against Louisville. Louisville got clobbered today. Okay, Louisville's going nowhere. You know, they've punched some other teams here recently. We talked about how they had to grind out some wins, and they did, and they showed some progress in that respect. But that stuff's got to show up in a game like this, and it didn't.
It does,
I'm going to side with Leaky on this. I think Leaky knows what he's talking about. He's a smart guy. He's a high basketball IQ guy, and I think he's a very honest guy. I've told you one of the reasons why I'm glad we're starting to get him more and more in these Zooms is to talk to him. If this was pre-COVID, I'd be talking to Leaky after every game. So I think he's a real good voice of the team, and people need to listen to what he said today. You should go on our channel and listen to Leaky's whole interview. No, the roof didn't come down here a second ago.
Hurt my ears. I know
it was about 7 or 8 minutes. It's really good stuff. And I commend him for his honesty.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely do too. We'll try to wrap this one up quick because of it explosions going off behind us. But last thing I want to hit on, what is this?
By the way, people complain about this. We would do these videos sooner, but the Zooms are like an hour now.
Yeah, the
post game and pre-COVID, it was like 20 minutes, and we're rocking.
Press conferences take a little bit longer than usual. Zoom has definitely affected that. Last thing I want to hit on, like we kind of always do, what does this mean? Because I said it during the game. We talked about it going into it. This was a big game for Carolina's NCAA tournament hopes. Not only did they lose, they got blown out again, for lack of a better word. I know Clemson's coming up on Tuesday. Quick turnaround from that. They got Florida State next Saturday in Chapel Hill. What does this mean for this? Because for me, not only was this a big missed opportunity, but it was just a really, really bad showing once again for them.
They're 0-7 in Q1 games, although some of these. Clemson would have been a Q1 game if they didn't lose. I think they lost today. Clemson lose today?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. But the bottom line is their only other Q1, their only other for sure Q1 opportunity is at Duke now, because Clemson doesn't have Hunter Tyson. They're probably they're barely inside the window of a Q1 game being on the road.
Yeah.
And Virginia Tech on the road's a Q1 game. But they're 0-7 in Q1 games right now. They have 4 Q2 wins, but one of them is at Louisville. They're going to end up outside the top 135. That's not going to be one. Another Q2 opportunity is at NC State, and I'm not sure they're going to finish in the top 135.
No, I don't know if they are.
The honesty is, this is not an NCAA tournament team right now. They haven't looked like it. When they're good, they're really good at times, but you have to be good against the good teams.
Yeah.
And they've been terrible. Their average margin of defeat in the 7 losses is 18.6 points. That's not an NCAA tournament team.
This is the opposite.
They've handled a couple of teams in league play, but last week, struggle against Virginia Tech, struggle against BC, and struggle against Louisville. Now, I thought there were positive things in those wins, and I thought that they grew some of those wins, but you got to bring that out here when you play really good teams, and they've gone to the floor empty against really good teams.
Yeah, it's just it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, they're going to have to win a lot of games. They're going to have to hope Michigan wins. They're going to have to hope Furman wins a lot of games. They're going to have to hope College of Charleston wins a bunch of games in the CAA, because that's a road win.
They did win today, College of Charleston.
Yeah, they were 157 in the NET, and the reason that's important, if they climb into the top one, if they're in the top 135 on Saturday selection weekend, that's a Q2 win. It's Q2 road win. So, I mean, they're kind of reduced to pulling for College of Charleston and Furman.
That's who they are at this point, yeah.
Because you are who you are. We write about and talk about what the teams do. They dictate what we write about and talk about. And that's where Carolina is. What this means is they need to win. They need to beat all the teams they're supposed to beat. They have to go to Little John and win. And I think that's a challenging game even with Tyson out.
Especially coming after this game.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State next week, if Florida State's struggling because they got a lot of injuries, Carolina should win that game. They should win out between now and Duke.
Yeah, they should.
And if they do, they'll win enough games to get into the tournament, but they're not going to get a very high seed. Nobody in this league is outside of Duke.
No,
the league
horrible
stinks.
league. Yeah, it's horrible league.
So that's the thing. There's not a lot of valuable wins in this league. They went from 52 to 35 in the NET, winning those 4 straight games over teams that aren't going to sniff the postseason anywhere, right? So, if they continue to win, they've got, 8 more regular season games up? They go 7-1 before going to the ACC tournament. They're going to win enough games to get in the tournament.
Yeah.
They got to put 68 in. But at some point, this team has to have a good performance against a good team. This is highly discouraging if you're a Carolina fan.
Yeah, it should be.
And as somebody who covers the team, I got to go write kind of a similar story I've written a bunch of times already. And after a while, that story is who a team is. They're pretty good against the bad teams, and they're awful against the good teams.
Especially on February 5th, right?
It's February 5th. I mean, a month from today, 4 weeks from today, they go to Cameron.
Yeah.
If they can't hang here, what's going to happen there?
Yeah, I really thought Carolina would play a lot better than they did today. We predicted a win. I really thought they'd win.
I thought Caleb would play well, but Caleb was really, really struggling. You could see it in his body language. I asked Leakey about, did you get a sense the guys were just having a tough time with it, basically losing confidence like you were talking about? And he kind of said yes. I don't remember his exact words. You can go watch the video and find out yourself. But I think Leakey knew that, oh my God, we got that body language again.
Yeah.
And this club doesn't know how to switch it during the course of it. They are unable to flip the switch during the course of the game.
Yeah, and like you said, course of the game, I've heard a lot of it's players and it's coaches too. I mean, I've heard some people blame these people, some people. It's a team.
It's the program's fault. It's the team's fault.
It's a team.
Who runs the team?
Yeah.
first-year coach, whatever. At some point, you got to do something to inject a change into your team when things are going bad. And he went to his own in the second half for a while, and they actually kind of worked a little bit, and then they went away from it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of criticism to go around.
Yeah.
And you're going to play at North Carolina and coach at North Carolina, you're going to get criticized when things don't go well.
Absolutely. It comes with the territory, doesn't it?
It comes with the territory. That's the difference between
all these
being in here or being at Furman.
Yeah.
No offense to Furman.
Yeah, but I think y'all can get the comparison there. We've been Tar Illustrated. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Carolina losing 87-67 to Duke. We're gonna go and run before they start throwing these bleachers down.
I keep flinching like there's something falling.
I know it is loud. It does scare you a little bit, but make sure you guys keep it locked to TarIllustrated.com. Check us out, all your post-game coverage and all your coverage leading up to the Clemson game. Obviously, AJ will be down there. Brandon's going to be down there. Oh, is he not?
Brandon P. will be down there as well.
Yeah, so we'll be well represented down in Clemson on Tuesday night for Carolina's next game. Like I said, guys, keep it locked to our YouTube channel. Keep it locked to our website. Thanks for watching, as always, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks.